Hey, good morning, everyone. It's nice to have you this morning. So I know everybody were so busy with celebrating the Holy Week, but let me send to you this discussion because this is something very important, which actually covers from our prelim coverages for the exam. So last time we discussed about the nature of personnel administration, and next we have we already done also discussing with the objectives of personnel administration, and we have the number three or the chapter three organizing human resource department. We have right now, presently I will be discussing to you the chapter four, which is the development of personnel functions. So na po no atong ituki kung unsa ning mga development of personnel functions. So here, as an introduction, personnel function, the rules of the personnel human resource manager. So it considering his position in the company or organization and the scope of his function, the personnel manager is expected to play varied roles such. So we have number one, the supervisor. We have number two, administrative official. We have number three as an advisor. Number four as a coordinator. Number five, negotiator. Number six, we have educator. And we have number seven, the provider of service. Number eight, employee counselor. Number nine, promoter of community relations. And number 10, public relations man. But before we are going to move all throughout the discussions, we have to understand them bit by bit, no? So, dire, no, gimension sa ibabaw, the personnel manager or the human resource manager plays a very variety rules, no, or various rules in the organization. So as a supervisor, so ato lang i-understand no nga ang manager is naman sila kung ano subordinates nga gitawag og supervisor, but before that one, of course, ang supervisor, they are also relying no with the commands, relying with the mandates no coming from the manager. So as a supervisor, what is his function is he is responsible for planning, we have organizing, directing, control, and coordinates the activities of his departments. So he delegates some of his functions to his subordinates but check on them through follow-ups. So he manages the work of the employees in his department and trains them in developing their skills of efficiency. So grabe din no kanilang daan. This is something very crucial kay mingong dutag or he make plans, of course mura siya nahimo og sa usa ka organization. Siyempre ang atong masabtan ang usa ka manager is dako jud kay siya og kanino dako kay siya trabaho when it comes to planning kay everything coming from its downline bisan pa og naprobahan na coming from its namin siya mga subordinates. We have different heads from every department, still they will be consulting for the manager para sa pag-aprobar sa plano kaya na i-review. So that's the good thing about planning na usahay di ay kinahanglan po di know that they are going to kung ano nga atong usbon sa sinugdanan dili lang kita pataka og hire because it is very important also to consider with the experience and the expertise of the person to be hired in a particular position, especially when we talk about a managerial position. Organizes, so of course as part of that organizes dili lang kaning recruitment and selection, everything no, all endeavors inside the organization. So he will be the one to organize, he will be the one to choose, he will be the one to give mandates on how the organizations are actually being divided, and part of that is the will kanino ang kanibang pag everything to set everything well supplemented for them to be able to functionalize well in the organization, knowing that the organization is like a system no kaning atuang mura sa jeg atuang lawas ba nga tanan makalihok gyud tanan if everything is well organized and well provided. Directing, so of course when we say directing, of course mo sa director. So as a director, of course he give mandates, balik niya po no ang mandates in all means whatever will be the things that are needed to be cope up, especially changes, challenges o kaning mga problems that may encounter sa ilang pang adlaw-adlaw nga kuan pagtrabaho. So naalagi na diha everything and even the reports. Okay, the controls and coordinates. So speaking of controls, I know it's very understandable to everybody. When we say control, of course, this has something to do with the pag-implement sa policy, how it was actually implemented, and at the same time to secure everything is in order. Okay, o wala tay control, ang purpose mo gid aning pag-control no basically is kanima no to make everything in order. Naiuban nga dili maglalis, dili magkagubot, who is the actually kinsa may kinahanglan, kinsa may mo functionalize ani nga particular trabaho para dili magkaguliyang ang organization. Okay? So next we have administrative as an administrative official. So administrative official, he or his staff conducts or directs certain personnel activities as provided or in the policies and programs entrusted to the department. He sees to it that labor laws and government regulations are properly complied with, and he should also know how a policy is made and administered. So kanino, I think this is the best time also for me to share to you nga kaning pagka-administrative official sa usa ka manager, usa po ni siya sa kadako kayo nga responsibilidad. Atong balikon, since we talk about organizing, directing, and control, part gapon na diha, no? Kaning pag-implement sa balaod, sa balaod, not balaod, but policy inside the organization is actually vested from the law. Dili man ta pwede no nga maghimo ta og mag-implement tag usa ka balaod, like for example, it was actually obvious that it is mandated by the law that we have to provide kaning sweldo sa matag adlaw, which is the minimum. Now if the particular organization that you have, tawag ginatog organization, is dako na siya, no, naman tayo leveling, no, nga ang pag-provide na to sa tawhanon nga sinuhulan is we have to adhere the law, or else we will be punished by the law if we're not going to follow. Now diha sama dire sa atong gituki, no, nga as an administrative official, set to it that it is compliant to the law. Nga everything, even kaning paghatag og kaning mga sanctions sa kaning mga trabahante, especially mga earring employees, kani bang magpabadlong, no, mga pabadlong, mga kalapasan ginagmay, it is always adhering the labor law. Dili gid pwede tanong nga mag-impose ta, mag-implement tag usa ka balaod which is not a policy which is not adhering to the balaod or the law. Okay? As an advisor, so he serves as a counselor, guide, and confidant to management, supervisors, and employees. To be competent, he must keep himself informed about employee attitudes and behaviors and be abreast of trends in the industrial relations field which may affect his company. Now, in a very normal way, no, pag naay mga problem that may actually arise sa usa ka organization, adto gina sila, no, it is nahimo na siyang importante, nahimo na siya nga matawag na to siya routine, no, it's routine, mahimo siyang importante, mahimo pud siyang usa ka tulubagon o usa ka pinaka crucial kayo nga responsibility sa usa ka supervisor to actually let the manager know also with what is actually going on the suits of the organization. So as an advisor, of course, whatever will be the actions taken from that supervisor or the immediate superior diya sa suits of the organization, that is also coming from the mandates or the idea of the manager. So like for example, kaning habitual tardiness, if that can be done 3 times na, no, so unsa may buhaton sa usa ka supervisor, so of course we know the fact that the supervisor is competent enough, but that doesn't mean that the problem will only end up onto his diha ra kutob sa iya, ha, but dapat siya, no, nga it is also the right of the manager to know kung unsa na day what's going on dra, no, og unsa nila paghatag ang settlement, because knowing the fact and considering the fact that the manager is the expert above all, no, sa within the organization. Okay, next we have a coordinator. He brings into all actions, regulates and combines diverse efforts into harmonious whole, and gets together and harmonizes the work of various personnel in his department and the related function in other departments. So as a coordinator, if there is an area coordinator, sir, naalagi mga empleyado nga area coordinator, they are also coordinating, but more than that, there is that someone or there is that responsibility which is actually hassle to the manager, that kasi tawag ano tawag siya og responsibilidad sa usa ka manager no na to coordinate niya. What is the means of coordination? Of course, it's very important to conduct meeting, to communicate, to actually have a good relationship towards every department so that they can actually work on together. As a negotiator, he is the representative of the management in negotiating labor contracts or to attend negotiations with unions in an advisory capacity. So as a negotiator and an administrator of the labor contract, he must understand the nature, significance, and the methods of collective bargaining. Now, for your information class, ang kaning gitawag na to collective bargaining class, this has something to do with any agreements, no, which is actually pertaining no sa kaning kanibang ini about sa sweldo, about sa environment no sa balaod, and it is also it would also discuss with the nature of work no diya tanan ang atuang night shift differential tanan that are the things which is under this what we call the collective bargaining. Okay, so I forgot. No, I supposed to share my screen. Okay, so that everybody can also see with my presentation or view my presentation. Okay, as an educator, so wala may maestro diha, no? Wala maestro, walay unsay nga nani. Wala tay lain nga kuano, wala pa lain gibutang diha, pero we have to understand lang we should not understand it in a very shallow manner, no? As an educator, of course, normally coming from the expertise of the manager, so he will be the one to educate also down to his subordinates. Yeah, if there is that someone who will actually conduct training program, of course, atong balikon, dili ta malimot no nga before mag-conduct ang usa ka, like for example, one of the HR personnel is actually tasked to conduct training program, set to it that it has to be coming it was actually first no i-proposed na siya sa manager, and then it was the manager who will actually kana no siya may mo approve ana also to the budget which will be allocated for that particular training program, the venue, and so on so forth. So adto gyapon na siyang end na iya gyapon nang i-review. Now asa man diri nato sir makita ang educator, so kana no coming from his own guidance, because the manager also has the right no to actually pwede man na niya dili na niya approve if he sees something nga dili makaayo no or like makakosag dako kayo budget ana nya mura laog kana bang wala ba klaro ang proposal, so diha po na no makita na to ang function sa usa ka manager as an educator. Okay, okay ingon na he is very much involved in the management of the employee programs of his company. So diha even kaning panghatag og kining kuan no like for example karon man god no like if I were to cite an example, when we are going to talk about industries, let us be very certain we are going to discuss about BPO. So ang BPO company lain man sila no lain gyud na sila og way of providing compensation sa ilaha nga mga trabahante na uban nga like na signing bonus ingana, so that is also coming from the idea of the manager, coming from his own review. If he thinks that the money or the budget of the company is paano sakto no dako, pwede siya maka shoulder nga extra mile to actually attract any talents coming from the outside, kay kaning mag-hire taog mag-conduct taog recruitment and selection. When we are going to impose hiring na may mga tao nga mga apply, so of course as expected na madungag ng mga tao diha nga mga ngilingig pod coming from the other company mga nihawa because they think that the company is not providing them so well, so mo na nga napoy uban nga nana mo offer sila. So that's coming from the idea, that is coming from the approval of the manager. Provider of service, so he provides services to all employees and helps them obtain facilities with government agencies like SSS, Medicare, and etc., which can make their employment more satisfying. Now do not forget that kani atong balikon no, if there is the manager, there is this people, HR manager. So sige, ato na lang ibutang no, HR manager. So ang HR manager na po na siya ay mga subordinates no. Na HR nga na-assign sa training, na HR nga na-assign sa recruitment and selection, na po HR nga na-assign sa compensation and benefits. Now, what is actually referring to this provider of services? Dire no kaning gitawag dire no, dire siya mo fall sa kaning gitawag compensations and benefits functions of the HR. So agencies like SSS, Medicare, and etc. I do not know if everybody know about Medicare because this is not something very famous to everybody. Dilim sa tanan organization nag-offer og Medicare, but kanilang coming from the SSS, Pag-ibig, and PhilHealth, which is the very kuan kayo, very common. So they are also taking kanino they always make sure, the manager always make sure that there is that someone who will lain po ang manager no nga siya may mulakaw ani tanan. He has these subordinates no nga part sa HR personnel nga mo palakad ani tanan. And then it is on the end of the manager to actually review iya gyapon ang i-review. Oy, compen and benefits, sir, can you please submit to me a report so that I will be able to know what is going on with kanino kay biya, this is mandates from the government biya ni siya. Now, failure to actually comply this one could cause a serious trouble sa organization. Oh, what if kung madisgrasya nagkalit diha ang simbako lang madisgrasya ang usa ka empleyado nga siyempre di adto siya mukuha no sa SSS insurance coming from the company. Aside from the insurance, what if that particular event that happened to the person is very serious? So of course they would also rely this what we call SSS and like Pag-ibig or Malone sila nga nag-review dito walay tarong bayad, who will be blamed right after that? So of course it's on the end no, the manager itself cannot wash his hand actually, or cannot actually take off his hand from that kind of obligation because appeal man na siyang plano no. Pwede man na balikan ang manager pangutan-on sa duli nga unsa man ni manager, do you have any idea why is that so nga na man ni wala man ni makuan? So that could simply means that there is a lapses no about kaning monitoring. So kana dapat po na siya nga i-take in consider sa usa ka manager. Take into consideration. Sorry. So next we have employee counselor. So his knowledge and training in human relations and the behavioral sciences plus his familiarity with the company operations puts him in the best position to counsel employees. Now if the school actually has its own counselor, na po tay employee counselor no. Mabito na nga sir, does this necessarily na mag-uban sir nga mo hire sila counselor, employee counselor other than the manager? Then good for them. No, because magdepende na atong usbon, magdepende mo siya sa budget class. Now, if the company sagad diri sa tua, no, by nature, dili man gyud kay ngana no kay this could actually cause another expenses to the company. So kani employee counselor the manager itself has its right, has its privilege also to stand as an employee counselor. Nya, unsa man when can a manager actually give his time to do counsel sa iyang mga trabahante? Like for example, if there are iring nga mga empleyado, so nya before no they are going to face with a supervisor from time to time, pwede gyud kayo no nga ang end up na ari sa manager. And I encountered that one before no nga kana nga nagistorya sa manager together with me as a supervisor. There is that empleyado no we talk together. So it's pangutana unsa man sa nga counselor, is that something that could actually intimidate coming from the word itself counselor? It's not wala siya, it's not the goal of the counseling is not to put the blame, always let the person actually take the blame. No, it's somewhat like paano siya no, mura siya type of reformation ba nga if there are mga kasaypanan nga gibuhat, so that can be corrected coming from the idea of the manager. Kana og nama po yung mga manager nga mga anak was no nga buutan po sila nga Ang ilaha diha is not always to punish, but also to let the person actually realize its worth and to realize from his or her mistake. Now, promoter of community relations. So he must be well informed of the activities and developments in the environment where the enterprise operates. So he is called by the management and helping the company project favorable and positive image to the community. So the community that is actually being mentioned here is the entire environment of the organization. So dira as kani gitawag siya community of promoter of community relations, meaning to say he will stand up. No, he will stand up in between. He will stand up with kaning to promote good communications, to promote teamwork, and kani iya magibit-bit ang ngalan sa usa ka organization. So diya no makita if how the manager actually deals with different kay kani sa usa ka organization, di man kalikayan no nga naay mga panagbingkil, panaglali sa matag department, and diyan nato makita ang good leadership sa usa ka manager. If he can actually troubleshoot, or if he can actually reconcile no all of the misunderstandings that actually happened inside the organization, then good for him, because he is well deserved to be called as a good leader, no? Ay kaning pag-manage and leadership, there are different kuan man pang, pero mo na atong usbon diha gyud nakasalalay sa usa ka manager ang kana nga trabaho. Okay, gitawag gani dire no atong i-highlight project favorable and positive image of the community. Now, if those people, what will happen if those people, if no one will actually stand in between with those people who have this resentment, who have this kanino na mga kuan ba na mga unsa ni na mga diferensya na no ang relasyon mura na kuan na nasamdan na no, dili na maayo ang communication ana, what will happen? So of course that could actually, or that could eventually cause a bad image towards the community. Nya kinsa may mingon ra ba ni mga tao no kinsa may manager diha lano wa man na niya nakuan. So diha usa po na siya sa ihang functions. Public relations man, so his functions require him to deal with the general public, which includes the employees, the unions, and the community. He will talk to the employee. Another thing that is actually mentioned here, the unions and the community. There are labor unions. No, since we're talking about industry here, so let me just relate that one to this what we call the unions. So unions, there are labor unions, and there is the representative coming from that labor unions. Now, of course, kanang mga mamumuo, kanang mga trabahante, like example, TUCP, anak pawis, unsa pa nang uban, anak bayan, ano, napo na sila mga leader that will somehow from time to time, parehaan ning pag-usbong sa sweldo, kaning mga trabahante no, ni demand na og sweldo, kay tungod sa kamahal na sa mga palaliton. So from time to time kaning manager pod tawgon sila no, nya mo na diha may tabo kaning gitawag na tog panag-istorya. They are going to kani mo balik na putas kaning gitawag og collective bargaining. So diha na pod sila magsabot how they can actually make adjustments. Nya mga kana sila no, dili lang ginaingon siya kwas no nga leaders lang, napoy uban pod nga kana bang mga grupo-grupo gyud. Di gina siya kalikayan kas, and that even the law itself wala siya dili siya makababag ana. Kay normally if we are going to understand the situation, wala may balaod ngo magbawal nga maghugpong ang mga mamumuo, basta di lang magdag armas. Wala ginay bawal. So that is the right, the privilege of the people, especially that we are living in this country with celebrating this democratic system. So the people have the right and the people have that liberty no to actually express kung unsa may ilang kinahanglan nga express. And that is in the good side. In the other side of the coin, and we are going to take a look about it, nindot man pud siya no, kay suma no, kay pananglitan, the law always put favors on the kuan lang mga negosyante, adi pod maayo alkansi ta no. So next, let's proceed. Personnel qualities of the personnel manager. So na po dahil tayo mga personnel qualities of the personnel manager no, can communicate effectively. both oral and written or writing. Kanang nakita na to diya from 1 to 10, this is very crucial, no? All of these qualities are very applicable from 1 to 7. We have number 1, can communicate effectively both oral and in written. So that's very important also because atong balikon, atong hinuktukan ang kaning balaod o kaning manager, if you do not know about balaod, imo basa dia, imo gibasa pero ang pagsabot kumusta man nya, can you actually write? That's very important also because dili man sa tanang higayon masigilan tag conversate, no? There are times, there were times also that we can actually, or there is a need for us to actually write, understand, and there's a need also for us to actually acknowledge that one sa mga tao, sa itong mga trabahante, ana, no? When there's a meeting, of course, nagining duha, no? Oral and written, nagi na siya. Possess an above average intelligence. Dili lang giday no nga pareha nang mingon ta nga, for example lang ni class ba, mingon tanong nga bahala na igura makapasar ko 3.0 ro bitay gipangayo sa gobyerno. Na from time to time ari gyapon mulutaw gyapon no nga it is an edge to actually have that somehow you can actually reach more than just the average because it's very important. Take note atong balikon, what are the major functions of the manager? Planning, organizing, controlling. Now if you are only average, if there is that particular employee nga mas bright pa nimo, you will be outsmarted. And of course, murag usahay no, di na kalikayan so sa organization, there is that someone who will question your intelligence, the way you are making plans, the way you are going to impose policy. Sometimes mingon sila questionable kay na gigamit kanya logically speaking, murag wala man na ano kanang mura it is defeating to our side na dili na siya mutual ang way ana nga balaod usa ra ipanigan. So it's very important. Enjoys working with people. Now if you are those type of manager nga mingon ka nga, sir, is there a chance for me to become a manager? Lonely ra ba ko? Now you start, if you have that aim to become a manager, you should start communicating and interrelating with people because that is very important and that is actually considered as the most crucial part in the management in the field of management. Nga maki-communicate jud tao class kay you cannot just always rely on the supervisor to communicate with people. It will also be good kay kanino atong sabton when you are the head of the organization, it is someone when the people are actually grouped together, we cannot deny the fact that there is the politics that are actually being exercised in the organization. Now, talking about politics, of course, it is very important that you should know how to communicate people. How can you influence the people if first wala kanila makita? No, how can you let people actually reflect from all of those achievements that you have if you do not know how to communicate with people? Mingon day ka nga, ako gani manager ko daghan kay kog na nabuhat ng mga achievement. Unya wala day ka no, wala day kay time nga maki-communicate sa mga tao, wala kay time nga mo inspire sa mga tao. So at some point in your life makaatubang gid kag mga tao, digit kalkayan nga di ka makatubang, no? So it's very important to practice that one as early as now. Grasp, we have number 4, grasp the implication of the given situation, understand the individual's attitudes and problems of the employees and of the employer. Now, kanino mingon tag grasp, murag kuano kanang atuang i-grab, no? More than just grabbing, but we have to put that one closer onto us. Nya kani when there's given situation na may mga na-mention rin individuals attitudes that may arise, no, coming from different problems or generally ato lang matawag na to og behavior. If there are behavior problems, attitudes, sometimes no di na kalikayan because in the organization we will be dealing with different people and having those different personalities. Now dili kita no kaning atuang pag-act as a manager, it should not always be in a very shallow manner nga pag nakasala ditso dayon no, ditso dayon kag di ta pwede mag-inisog ta pirme no sa usa ka manager. Di po ta pwede nga sobraan po ta kahumok. Now, unsa man ni siya sir, unsa may gipasabot? So it actually requires intelligence by means of kanino to always observe with legality. Kay ari gitas legality class kay kaning di mo ta pwede no nga manguanan ta mohatag ta pahamtong tagsilot base sa tong kaisog or tungod kay dako kag lawas or tungod kay dato kadaghang kag kwarta. Always nagin ni siya nagin ta, everything has to undergo this what we call due process. Nya ang kaning due process, so long as you are in line or so long as you are adhering the law, there will be no problem about that one. Nya kaning pag-correct sa individuals attitudes, dili pulingon pinagis permis kaisog no, ay paagi og proseso to correct a behavior sa usa ka or attitude sa usa ka empleyado. Okay, aggressive, mature, and capable of giving sound advice that will be in the best interest of both the employer and the employee. So, gitawag no, aggressive yet mature. Di po siya, ang word na aggressive dire is in a good side, no? Nga aggressive meaning to say you have that you must have that kind of personality who is very engaging, no? You are very engaging, you're willing to deal, you're willing to face the problems, you have that very mature and very sound advice coming from your sa imong utok no nga dapat as always no, you should be reasonable. Okay, both employer and employee. So how can you actually communicate them so well if you are actually possessing that very unsound kayo nga way of advice, kani ba, very impractical, very illogical. Oh, that's one way no nga makaingon ta nga oy huyang mani nga usa ka manager. But if you are that kind of manager who is very intelligent, very wise, kana no, no one can actually question you no. Next, we have possesses the integrity, industry, and courage to earn the respect of the employees and the employer. So you have to foster no, imo ginay pakita no ang atuang integridad nga walay pagkuan ba nga bayran tag kwarta mapalit ang atuang kuan no, mapalit din atong integridad, bayran tag kwarta mausab ang atong desisyon. Now there are leaders like that. Normally lagi mga inana no nga mausab ang mga desisyon, mausab. You should be firm no, integrity is very important. Okay, you're bringing your name and prestige. Industry and courage. Okay, so kanina di kaisog no, diya mention this number 5, possess a pleasing personality and personal warmth and should be approachable. So yeah, na-mention na sa babaw no, I believe I'm done discussing that one. It's very important that you have that very personal way not in dealing with these people. Kaya nga no, mingon tag impersonal, manugo ra ka pirmi no. So you have to be very personal also. You have to take that opportunity to get engaged with those people, know them, know what their problem is, know with their backgrounds, know with their hardships. It's very important. The skills needed by today's HR professional. So we know the fact that right now it's quite different from the past time no, na ang usa ka kaning personnel administration before it was actually evolved in a human resource management. So una, it's more on viewing the people as a working object, but right now it's not like that. As the year goes on and on, daghan kay mga kausaban, so we have to deal with these changes. Now to deal with the changes, of course there is this skills that are actually required no para nga atong ma-execute og tarong. We have number 1, we have a higher degree of professionalism is the demand of the new HR practitioners. Now it's very to tell you honestly class, it's very easy to say professionalism no, it's very easy to say that I am a professional, but you know what, there are lots of challenges on how you can actually put this one into a very meaningful way that professionalism is actually being exercised by an individual. Now, this includes the following, Nadra: a higher degree of knowledge on management practices and processes. He would need this to collaborate with other line managers. So kanino atong usbon ang ating kaalam din no in management practices, dili lang siya ingon class na so long as I have the knowledge, I know how to read, I know how to write, kabaw ka mo kwinta, no, atong balikon ang pagbansay-bansay sa balaod nun sa tao o balaod nun balaod nga hinimo para sa tao. That is also very important. Now, aside from that, psychological factor, of course, we have to consider also that even though there are mga policies, still the challenge there is kanang mga tao na ginay mga lain-lain nga pamatasan o panabot. So that becomes the challenge also on how you're going to deal with them and to stand with them. Not to stand by means of kanino you punish them, but to stand with them as a good role model, to stand with them and firm that there is the policy is actually implied. It's because it serves for a good purpose. No? Next, the HR practitioner is a service provider to other line manager. He must possess a degree of human and public relations. Balik, no? You should know how to communicate. You should know how to interrelate with people. Okay, you will be, dealing with supervisor and even the CEO. A great knowledge of human psychology and social relations. See? So, gamit yun no? Kanang psychology natin. May nga na ba na yung tanong ay kung ilara. Kaya bisag first year ako, kamao ko mo psychology, kamao ko mo psycho. Ana din no? Ang termino ba? It is not like that, no? As a manager, dili lang nana kasayon, but also you have to reflect kani biyang psychology lain man ni siya og theory. So even the leadership and the management styles na po na sila lain-lain nga theory. So you have to be mindful about that one. And as much as possible, be transparent, be flexible, and be willing to learn, no? Every now and then. Do not just say or do not just claim to yourself you're a close-minded and you have know a lot, because from time to time there will be changes. So naagin yung mga kausaban class and you have to adapt with the changes. Okay? Next, he is a consultant on labor unions. So working knowledge of labor laws and regulations is of great advantage. Take note, when you aim to become a manager, take note also that you have this background, no, about labor law. Kay mag-unsa na ba lang o ikaw usa ka manager nya wa kay balaod sa labor law, mingon ka nga kana siya nakasana siya gapon yung ibanggaan akong auto putbula na. That is very unreasonable. So mo nang manubag kas balaod. So it's very important also, it becomes a requirement that a manager should be well versed in labor law. 5, as a management practitioner, thorough knowledge of management and its relations to effective organization is a must for all HR managers to plan out strategic approaches to problems and their solutions. Magina, no nga, like for example, you know what, when you're going to ask me personally, sir, who is the best HR among other courses? I could not claim about that one because mingon tag ang mga psychology, they are well dedicated or they are well kanibang matawag na to pasabol sila para na nga position. How about kaning mga graduate og law, di ba dahil sila pasabol? So that depends on the situation. Everything depends on the situation. Naman sa course nga HRDM. Sa HRDM naa po no lain-lain po na siya na HRDM na HRDM ba nga naka-field gud sila sa industrial world o sa organizations kayo nga organizational nga mga trabaho mga about social psychology no, pero it's not enough, no. It actually both need or requires this knowledge about psychology, about different theories on how to manage people, handle people. Sociology also, you have to put basis on the theories coming from the famous nga mga sociologists so that you can actually understand and you can actually importante kayo that you also have the background on how to deal with people. Kay importante man aritas balaod, of course, importante po siya, no? Kay kita, we are living no, musugot bug sa di, isa pag madugta na itong lawas, mamatay na ta, na may mga balaod good nga kinahanglan nato sundugon, kinahanglan nato sunuon. Or else, of course, when there's no longer no nga we can no longer use the purpose of the law of how it was actually designed. Wala, guba ta, no? Mao na nagingon nyo, the state of lawlessness is a very chaotic society. Amo na, kung wala tayo blaod, wala, chaotic ato ang society. A community relations officer, the HR manager, develops greater linkage with government and other stakeholders. He has to coordinate with schools and other agencies for the manpower pooling and other services. Tinuod, no? This does not only limit the functions of the HR manager, that is not only limited in a very small scope. Akong Osborne, it is not limited only to a very small scope. Dili lang kay diha sa organization, but as much as possible, you also have to you have to communicate, you have this you have the linkage to this what we call the stakeholders and the government. Nga naman, from time to time there is the need of that help coming from the government also to unsa man to pull out mga manpower. Like for example, kaning piso officer, I do not know if you know about this one, but there is in the municipality na mga piso office dira, no? Public employment, sana kalimot mo ko ito unsa na ikuan na basta ang O office, ang S nakalimot mo ko. They also coordinates with the mga private nga mga organizations, because na may mga trabahante sa usa ka sa usa ka community nga nag-need og trabaho. So para nila, that is one way also nga makatabang sila nga ma-employed tong mga tawhana, makatabang sila makahatag og pangitag trabaho. So they have to coordinate with the HR manager, because the HR manager will actually talk to his subordinates to submit papers that are coming from the job analysis, that these are the type of people that we need from our organization, these are the skills that are needed for our organization, and so on and so forth. Meaning to say, to make the long story short, they will be submitting the requirements to the government, to the PISO officer, and they are going to talk and coordinate with the PISO officer for them for the for at ease, no, for the purpose nga mas mapadali ang ilahang pagkuha, no, pagpanawat og mga tao, anak. Okay, so and even the schools, no, na mao ng uban organizations right after kanang padung na mag-graduate ang mga estudyante, moadto din ang mga private organizations dito, because they wanted to attract talents coming from the fresh graduates nga mga empleyado, especially kaning mga BPO company, no. I can still remember last time when I was in my college, nangadto din ang mga different BPO HR manager, they are actually advertising their company, the benefits that we can get from the company, the compensations that they offered. So good for them. Nga katong mga uban mingon nga sige kani nindot ni kay wanay hassle mga apply, no, dali ra mga apply. So I think that would be all, and I hope you have learned a lot from the discussion that I made right now. Thank you so much, and don't forget to subscribe, class, so that you will get notified for the next discussion yung ako ang pagabuhatan. So have a great day, everyone, and enjoy your Holy Week. Thank you. Laka.